Good morning, loves, from beautiful Mexico City. The sun has started to peek through the clouds, and today feels really inspiring for me. And I'm so excited to share what my prayer time revealed to me because it's so potent and it's so powerful. And I feel like this is a message that so many of us need to hear in order to know ourselves a bit better, but also to develop a deeper understanding of spirit and the spiritual undercurrent of our lives. And so this morning I'm actually sitting with Proverbs, which I love Proverbs in the Bible because it's all about wisdom and it's all about embodiment. And of course, being a somatic therapist, I'm like, yes, let's bring it to the body. Like let's talk about that a little bit. And I'm just in the first couple of verses, and it's just like, the exhale that I feel when I'm reading this material and I'm processing this material just feels so nourishing. And so I pray that, what I received from this and what I'm about to share with you also feels nourishing for you, regardless of where you're at on your spiritual journey. And so in Proverbs, we're talking about wisdom, and wisdom is a she. It's for me, it's the Holy Spirit that is wisdom. It's the feminine, nurturing essence that is always trying to reach us. She's always trying to find us. She's always trying to say, hey, like, I'm right here if you choose to open yourself up to me, right? If you can actually allow and move into a posture of being able to receive. First, in theory, it's like the Father's provision, right? And so whether or not you relate to God in this way, again, I say this all the time, that doesn't matter to me. It's about the undercurrent and the essence of spirit and how spirit wants to move through your life. So you could also look at this from like an internal family system lens if you wanted to, where we all have an inner father, we all have an inner mother, we have an inner child, an inner teenager, all these parts, right? A protector, a firefighter, all these different parts that exist within us. And so when we're able to receive, and I'm going to get into what receiving actually means versus listening, when we're able to actually receive information, we have to be in a posture, a physical posture, but also an internal posture that allows us to do that. And so this posture is one of openness, right? If you think about, well, prayer could be different. Sometimes I think people sit in prayer, and because they're so stressed out and they're so desperate, there maybe is this openness, but it's more of this like closed, contracted, I'm suffering, curled up in a ball kind of energy, right? Or there's like this prayer that's like more worship based. That's like my hands are lifted to the sky, my hands are out wide, right? Like my chest is open, like I'm open. Lord, I am here. Spirit, I am here. Give it to me. Give me that $1 million idea. I am ready for it, right? There's this posture of trust. I trust that I'm going to receive it. I trust that you're going to give it to me because I'm worthy. I'm valuable. I'm the perfect vessel. I'm the perfect conduit for that idea, that movement, etc., that business, right? There's also a curiosity. Our minds have to be open in order to receive new ideas, to receive feedback, to receive correction, to receive um, the solution for that challenge. So there's a curiosity and a willingness. There's a willingness. These are all internal postures just as much as they are external postures that put us into the ability to receive, into receivership. I am receptive. Give it to me. My mind is open. My heart is open. My body is open. Let's go, Spirit. Let's go. And so to put this into context, like think about how hard it is to actually receive when you're either braced, meaning you're tense in your body. You could think about if you walked around a corner and somebody jokingly scared you, your whole body tightens, right? You're braced. That's what bracing is. You tighten. And a lot of us, like no shame, no fault, because the world is kind of scary out there. Like, yes, there's a lot of love and light, but there's also a lot of not love and light out there. And so a lot of us are actually braced without knowing that we're braced. We're constantly tense in our muscles. Our back is sore. Our shoulders are sore. We're not waking up fully like rested or connected. I'm just going to let my cat in here for a moment. And so think about how hard it is to receive when we're in that shut down, contracted state. We're tight in our body. There's when you're tight, there's not a lot of space for things to move around. It's like thinking about your posture when you are closed or shut down, right? And so when you think about being shut down, it either takes the right person to come and soften your edges, right? Maybe that's your mother, maybe that's your father, maybe that was your grandmother. That's who it was for me. Like when I would crawl into my grandma's lap when I was a little girl, it's like everything that I was carrying just kind of melted away. She was my safe space, right? So it either takes the right person, aka somebody that you feel safe with, to soften with, to melt with, to have the breakdown with, or an inner part within yourself, which is what happens the more spiritually developed I feel we start to become those parts for ourselves in case we actually didn't have that growing up. And so it's this energy, this energy that brings you back to safety, that nurturing part. And I think about I think about this guy on Instagram. If you've seen him, his name's Fernando something, and he does these like baby girl series, and they are just amazing. They're oh god, they're so nurturing, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm a baby girl. And I love it. So I'll make sure that I send a reference to that, a link to that for you, so you can see. It's just like so sweet. And so we're talking about being in a posture of receptivity. I'm open, I'm trusting, I'm curious, versus postures of contraction, postures of tension, right? Where I'm actually a bit smaller, I've shrunken, I'm contracted. There really isn't a lot of movement because I'm in this tight, kind of curled up posture. And how hard it is to receive in that posture because there's not a lot of space. Everything is compacted. Everything is a little bit tighter, a little bit smaller than it was. And so we can self-soothe and we can have these different somatic tools and these different practices that bring us back to openness, right? That bring us back to receptivity. And that's what we're building. Like in Sensual Strategy, in my one-on-one client work, that's what we're building, right? We're building the ability to contract because contraction is necessary. It's important for us to know and understand our edges so that we can become intimate with those edges, which is something I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Becoming intimate with, right, is knowledge. The etymology of knowledge is to become intimate with. And so when we can become intimate with our edges, why there are edges, if it's actually true that that's an edge, because what we find is that no, it's just an opportunity to expand into when we have the right resources, willingness, openness, trust, curiosity to do so. This shows up in life. This shows up in business. This shows up in relationship. And so it's important that we're able to kind of get these key words of like, what does receiving actually mean? What does knowledge actually mean? Because without it, we're just kind of out here like, well, yeah, I heard what you said, but I didn't really receive it, right? Because you can listen. You can hear what I'm saying right now, and it can go in one ear and out the other. And you can say, yeah, I heard you. But if there's nothing that's sticking and there's nothing that's landing in the body, you aren't actually receiving it. And so why is that? And that's an inner journey that you get to go on. It's like, oh, what is preventing me from actually receiving this information? And so it's really important, I think, in this journey when we're thinking about our business, when we're thinking about our relationships, we're thinking about our connection to spirit, that we really truly always try to see and understand the spiritual undercurrent. And this is where we find wisdom, right? What is this experience, this circumstance, this challenge that I'm facing? What is this trying to teach me? And I know sometimes that can be like, ugh, girl, like I'm rolling my eyes right now, like, oh. Sometimes we don't want to think about it that way, right? Because it's just like, oh God, here we go. right? But the thing that I love about challenges in life, especially in our business, is that these challenges are here to sharpen us, to sharpen our tools, to sharpen our faculties, our mental faculties, our emotional faculties, our ability to be with challenge, again, in a creative way. And so it's nice because when we come to know ourselves, when we become really intimate with our minds, to know our minds inside and out and our typical thoughts and our typical patterns, to know our bodies intimately, to understand the rhythms of our hormones, the fluctuations of our moods, right? To become intimate with that, to become intimate with our desires, to know our desires inside and out, why they're placed on our heart, why we're the perfect person to execute, right? When we become intimate with that, when we become intimate with our relationships with our families, our relationships with our partners, our relationship with spirit, with God, with whatever that energy is for you. It's only through becoming intimate with that we fully begin to understand why us, why we are the perfect person. Y'all, the perfect person, divinely appointed person to execute that. And we cannot become intimate with anything, that thing, that idea, that launch, that product, that offer, that partner, spirit, we cannot become intimate with if we avoid any element. I'm going to say that again, any element of that conversation. So if we're talking about becoming intimate with our partner, for instance, and there's an edge that we always come up against, right? If we continue to avoid that edge, if we avoid intimacy with what's actually happening there, you're never going to overcome it because you're just pushing it away. You go, that's too much. I fear that if I go there, I'm going to get lost there. It's going to open up Pandora's box and I am just going to be a shattered human being, for example. And I'm saying that because that was one of my own examples, for sure. There was a lot that I avoided in intimacy in my relationships and intimacy with my trauma because I felt that if I open that up, I might never recover from that. And what I found was that once I finally felt, I think I was just so sick of that edge, honestly, that just made me go like, oh, okay, I'm just going to be a warrior about this and I'm just going to go in there because I don't want to be at this edge anymore. I want to level up. I want to break through this glass ceiling because it's stunting me. It's limiting me. The same thing that I felt was keeping me safe is actually limiting my potential. And I knew in my heart that I was destined for so much more. And maybe that's the same for you. And so I had to choose to become intimate with that. And I had to choose to go in that. And what I found was that once I did that, I felt so much grief for myself because I was sad for a reason. And I was guarded for a reason. And I had fear and scarcity for a reason. And what did I need to do in order to overcome that? So that was no longer my edge. And I had to soften into that first. And I had to be intimate with those parts of myself that were having that experience, that still felt that experience was happening in real life, even though it wasn't. But the energy felt really similar. So my inner nurturer, my inner mother, my inner father, my ability to be with the eternal father and the eternal mother allowed me to soften, allowed me to see what was actually going on truly outside of my trauma, outside of my sadness, outside of my grief, be able to hold myself in that so that I could really take the wisdom, like the hidden treasure of those experiences, right? Digest them in my mind, digest them in my body, take what I needed that was the gold of that, the gold of that situation, and then implement that and embody that and move from that new reality and move from that new truth. That's what wisdom is. That's what wisdom offers us. She offers us reprieve. She says, hey, girl, I know this thing is happening to you, And here's what I'm trying to teach you. Here's what I want you to take to move forward. And this is how it's going to support you. And not only this is how it's going to support you, but this is how you're going to be able to amplify your voice and amplify your impact for others. Because all this isn't just for us. No, it's for humanity. The gifts that we have been given are not just gifts for us, they're gifts for others. Just as it was given to us, we give unto others. And that is how we know we are of service. And when we are of service, that is how we know that we are going to continue to receive abundance of wisdom, of knowledge, of skills, of money, of community, of resources, of partnership, right? Like whatever you want, honestly, it's truly available to you when we are of service. And that requires us having to take a step outside of ourselves for a moment to see what's happening, to digest and process that, and then offer that as testimony to others. Share our challenges and share our processes for others so they can see themselves in it, they can feel themselves in it, they will feel less alone, they will feel less isolated, and they'll go, dang, if it worked for her, I bet it could work for me too. And that's exactly what I'm doing right in this moment, y'all. Like, right? That's exactly what I'm doing. And so I share this because in business, in life, it's so important that we understand, like when we get a genius idea, and I love this reference, when we get a genius idea, we go, oh, it's so easy to be like, oh, that was my idea, right? You can think of if you've ever had an idea, and then I remember I used to watch Shark Tank because I just love entrepreneurship and I love people pitching their ideas. And I would go, oh my God, I had that idea. And now you just launched it. And now you just got like $500,000 for your idea. And in my mind, there was this moment where I like crossing my shoulders, like pouting, like that was my idea, right? Well, obviously wasn't because I didn't take action on it. And we're all going to get the same idea because ideally, if we manifest it, we're amplifying that through our many different communities, many different cultural contexts, etc. So no, it's not your idea. It's like, where do you think that idea actually came from? Because it didn't come from you. It came from something else. It just happened to land in the antenna that is your brain on that given day. So that idea, that vision came from source, right? And so you have to be willing to truly believe that the same energy that gave you that idea, that vision, etc., is the same energy that is going to support you in fulfilling it. I'm going to say that again. The same energy that gave it to you is the same energy that is going to support you in fulfilling it. That does not mean that that comes without challenge, because like we said before, challenge sharpens our skills. So some of it will be easy. You're like, yes, I'm on it. I know this is genius. I'm the perfect person, right? But when challenge comes, all of a sudden there's this doubt that's like, am I the perfect person to do this? Because this is hard and I can't figure it out and I feel stuck. That glass ceiling that I just can't quite break through, like, oh gosh, right? And this is the perfect opportunity in those moments to lift your voice, to lift your concern to spirit, to whoever, whatever your spiritual ally is, to lift your voice and ask for support. I cannot figure this out. Help me. Show me. Show me the different ways. Show me my blind spots. Reveal to me where I'm limited in my own thinking and where there might be another way that is outside my perception. That's the power of bringing our energy back to the same source that gave us the idea. It's like, woof, you know more than I do. You put this on my heart. I guarantee you have the solutions. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out together. But we have to be in a collaborative, co-creative environment, truly, where we're not self-reliant and we're not self-sustaining, because we in and of ourselves could not possibly do it on our own. And we know that to be true. On a deeply embodied level, we know. Whew. And you can think back to a time in your life where you were given an idea and you didn't really know how it was going to go, and it kind of turned out different than how you had imagined it in your mind, but everything was so perfect. It expanded you. And so I think it's important when we're talking about our business, when we're talking about our life, we're talking about our radiance and our magnetism as women and our ability to be in that, to embody that fully. We have to be willing to seek wisdom as if it is a treasure. It is a treasure. It is gold. It is silver. It is money. We have to be willing to seek it as if it is wealth, because truly our knowledge is our richest resource. That is what we get paid for, our knowledge, our skills. And so if we aren't constantly seeking, what's the wisdom of this experience? What is this challenge trying to teach me? What is this circumstance trying to teach me? What are these thoughts that I have that just like feel so limiting? What are they trying to teach me? What are they trying to reveal to me so that I can take that, I can integrate it, and I can implement it from a new, empowered, evolved state? And so I love that. I love that. Oh, you guys, I love that. Because that's intimacy. Not being afraid to look behind the closed door is intimacy. Not being afraid to soften our edges is intimacy. Not being afraid to look at the self-defeating, negative thought loops, negative self-talk, to look at it and see it for what it is and love it. Oof, that is intimacy. And that repairs and rebuilds our relationship to trusting ourselves, to trusting spirit. The same source that gave it to me is going to help me fulfill it. Amen, sister. Yes. That feels so good in my body. Does it feel good in your body also? I hope so. I hope it enlivens you, and I hope that it emboldens you, right? Because that's really what we need to level up. And so I say all of this because how you come to know and understand the spiritual undercurrent of your life and what is possible through your spiritual ally, there's relief there, right? That's that exhale that I was talking about earlier. It's like, oh my gosh, he who placed the vision on my heart will provide everything I need to bring it to fruition. What? All of a sudden, everything just became so much more simple. It feels so much more ease in my body. It's like, wow. Yes, please. Yes. So that's really what I wanted to share with you. That's what came through for me today. There's so much potency, and the last thing that I'm going to share is an example that I feel like will really bring in why sometimes this is challenging. So if listening is to hearing, then receiving what I'm saying is to digesting. And I'm going to give an example of this. And there's probably been moments throughout as you've listened to this that you were like, oh, yes, right? You have felt the sensations of your body that's like, ooh, this is changing something inside of me, because you're open. Every cell of your being is open. You're in a green state. You're in a good to go. Yes, please. I am here for it state. You're in that state. And so we hear something, right? We hear it. It goes through our ears. We hear it. But when we receive it, we receive in our bodies. What that means is that every cell of our body, because we're open, we're curious, we're in the green, right? We're receiving the frequency. You're receiving what I'm saying deep in your body. Every cell is absorbing the information, and it's changing something inside of you. It's changing your posture. It's changing your heart. It's changing the way that you think about things, because there's a receptivity to it. And it becomes an internalization. We internalize it. Today, when I'm sitting in prayer and I'm getting this mega download, I'm internalizing it. I'm bringing it to my body. I'm not only processing it in my mind, but I'm also digesting it in my body. It's moving, it's in my heart space, and then it's deep in my belly, and then it's in my sex, and then it's in my root, and it's creating this new foundation of security and creativity and purpose and excitement inside of me, which is why I was so excited to share it with you, which is why it's a bit long. So thank you for like holding out for me in this whole message, because it's like, whoo, I'm enlivened by it. And I pray that it feeds you also. And so every cell of our being opens up to whatever that is, information, thoughts, energy, beliefs, frequencies, etc., and our body absorbs it. That's what it is to receive, to truly receive on an embodied level. We let it land. You think about landing in your body. It touches the surface, but then it kind of spreads like tree roots, a little deeper, a little deeper, a little deeper. Next thing you know, you're not thinking the same and you're not feeling the same. Something is different. In a challenged example of this, where even a mini infracture could happen, or a wound, or even a trauma could happen, is if you think of this example of a child as a kid, and that child is laughing and they're in their joy and they're excited, and because they're so excited, they're kind of loud, right? They might be screaming in excitement. The level of their voice might get really high, like they're excited, right? And their father, let's say, gets angry at them, yells at them to shut up, you're being too loud, and gets angry and gets this aggressive kind of energy towards this child and a negative response to that child's joy. So that child could either let it go in one ear and out the other, okay, sure, whatever, and be unfazed, or instead, their body, because they're in this open state of curiosity, they're in that green state that I mentioned, I'm good to go, all of a sudden they're receiving this negative energy that shuts them down. Every cell of their body is receiving that negative frequency, with that negative energy. It absorbs it, and so their biology starts to change. Their internalized state, as they process and digest that, starts to change, and a story starts to form. I cannot be in my joy around my father, because when I'm in my joy, I receive negative energy, or I receive punishment, or there's a consequence to that. So all of a sudden, that energy that felt safe, that felt exciting, that gave life to that child, now is no longer safe in this particular avenue, in this particular relationship. And so that child starts to shift and adapt their behavior and their personality. So that's also receiving, right? And there might be instances of your life where you've been in a similar situation, where you were living your life and you were living it out loud because that's what we're meant to do. And somebody, something kind of came at you and threatened that. And so you shifted how you moved in that particular relationship, right? That shifts your biology, that shifts your chemistry. And so this creates an impact. All of a sudden, maybe joy is no longer safe. Maybe happiness is no longer safe. Maybe that's something to suppress, because if I do it and I do it too much, there's a consequence on the other side of that. And I don't want to risk consequence. I don't want to risk suffering. I don't want to risk pain. So we bury that. That energy is no longer safe. I worked with a lot of Mormon clients, like ex-Mormon clients, and there's a deep process that we've had to go through there around their pleasure and their joy and their happiness being safe, because it was suppressed for decades. Decades, they were told it was sinful and shameful. And so the process of bringing that energy back online is that meeting of your edge, right? And softening, and then meeting your edge and softening, right? One step forward, two steps back. One step forward, two steps back, right? And we rebuild that sense of safety and that sense of trust. And so I share that as an example, not to make you feel sad or to make you feel any type of way, but to give you a story, a parable of something that we can all relate to in some capacity. That moment in our life where that felt true for us. Even if it wasn't joy, it was something else. Even if it wasn't our dad, it was somebody else. It was society. That is what we are repairing. That is what we are starting to become more intimate with in our journey of self-development and healing and spiritual development, so that we actually have the capacity to receive more love, more wisdom, more abundance, more money, more responsibility. And that is what wisdom offers. So that was a little bit of like a somatic deep dive. Thank you for going on that journey with me. I didn't realize that this was going to be so long, but I'm grateful because I get to share that. And my vision, my hope, my prayer is that you got to receive it. Really receive it in your heart and receive this in your mind and receive this in your body. Even if you need to replay it another time or 2 more times, or you keep coming back to it because it just nourishes you so much because you feel so seen and so heard in what I've just shared. And so that's what we're going to continue to talk about. We're going to continue to process together. Again, I'm in this with you. I'm not above this. I'm not below this. I am like, whew, I am walking here right with you. So I thank you so much for being here. I thank you so much for being on this journey with me as well. Walking alongside me también, ¿no? And so I'm just going to invite us to take a nice breath together where we can inhale and just, as we inhale, just really receiving life force energy that our breath offers us. We can exhale peace, love, unity, calmness, groundedness, centeredness. The type of faith that when we exhale just feels so good. We feel so stable inside. So I pray that this brings you stability, and I'm blessing you for a very beautiful day. Thank you so much again for being here. Ciao.